everyone, good morning and welcome back. This is Rachel live from Kalkine TV studios and you're watching the early trades. Let us take you through the market charter and the key developments. Australian shares rose on Thursday, driven by energy and gold stocks that tracked higher prices of underlying commodities. Crude oil prices notched up by more than 1% after US distillate inventories posted a large downtick and refining activity picked up, boosting hopes for an increase in fuel demand. Meanwhile, gold settled higher. That was after the Federal Reserve decided to hold interest rates at zero. On Wednesday, the ASX 200 charged higher and closed near the 52-week high. That was on the back of record iron ore prices, although gains were capped by a disappointing earnings report from supermarket giant Woolworths. The total sales for the third quarter were noted at $17 billion. The company signalled an end to a pandemic-powered sales boost that it had enjoyed throughout the last year and says its current quarter was trading flat. Now let's take a look at the miners, and they're under the spotlight today with Fortescue Metals edging lower. That was after sharing below what was expected for their quarterly update. They did announce that iron ore shipments reached 42 million tonnes in the third quarter. The shipments were in line with record third quarter shipments in the corresponding period of last year. Moving on, the quarterly update of another miner called Resolute Mining. They noted quarterly production was at 85,668 ounces. Resolute is among the top 5 gainers on the board. Nickel Mines is leading the ASX 200 charter, soaring as high as 7%. And Newcrest Mining beat production estimates for their quarter. It has produced 512,424 ounces of gold during the quarter. The production was slightly lower than the previous quarter at an all-in sustaining cost of $891 an ounce. The energy sector edged up, tracking Wednesday's rise in oil prices. The Viva Energy Group led the gains on the index for a third straight day. Shares of Ansell were among the top gainers on the benchmark for the second day in a row. They were rising almost 5%. The protective equipment maker projected strong sales growth for the half year and the full year on Wednesday. Now, Clinuvel Pharmaceuticals posted a 10th consecutive half-year net profit of 962%. That was driven by a 58% increase in revenue. Meanwhile, looking at the buy now, pay later space, digital banking firm Novarti Group has risen most in nearly 11 months, and that was on an afterpay agreement. Novarti has been selected by BNPL firm Afterpay for delivery of its payment card program in New Zealand. And Sezzle has entered into a partnership with Market America Worldwide. That's to give customers access to their buy now, pay later offering. Moving on now, NRW Holdings announced that its Primero Group subsidiary has bagged a $135 million contract. This is for the engineering, procurement and construction of the Coburn Mineral Sands project for Strandline Resources. And Infratel says it's entered into an agreement to acquire a stake in Pacific Radiology Limited. The infrastructure investment company says that it has executed a conditional agreement to purchase between 50% and 60% of the Pacific Radiology Group. Now, GPT Group has said robust rent collection outcomes have continued during their March quarter. The company says that 105% of net billings were collected during that period. Okay, now let's take a look at some important developments from the US markets. The US shares ticked lower after the US Federal Reserve kept interest rates and its monthly bond buying program steady. They're continuing its support for the economy. Investors had been anxious and they were waiting to see if the US Fed would signal a tapering of its economic stimulus program. although in a statement released by the US Fed after its monetary policy meeting, it noted progress on vaccines and the economic recovery, which form the basis for its slightly less negative view than what it had expressed back in March. Now, President Joe Biden unveiled his American Family Plan. This plan consists of $1 trillion in investments and $800 million in tax cuts. The tax cuts are for families and workers. The US corporate reporting also glued the market participants. Moving on, Apple posted a March quarter record revenue of $90 billion. That was up 54% year on year, while Facebook Inc. beat market expectations for quarterly revenue on Wednesday. This was powered by higher ad spending by businesses during a pandemic-induced surge in online traffic. The benchmark 10-year Treasury yield and dollar index did fall in April, with April becoming the worst month for the US dollar since last July. Meanwhile, there was a wave of excitement in the cryptocurrency market as the European Investment Bank said it would sell a 2-year digital bond worth 100 million euros or 120 million US dollars. That was on the Ethereum blockchain network. To the commodities supercycle now. US earnings charter and upcoming economic releases were definitely carving out a different territory for the market's movement. Stay tuned now with Kalkine TV for more market live updates. We'll be back with more updates on the markets, the economy and diverse themes and sectors. Signing off for now, I'm Rachel.